And welcome everyone to a winning streak edition of the Crash the Pond podcast. Not often that we've gotten to say that in the past 2 years, but Jake, the Ducks have gone streaking. As has your streak of no mustache. As has that ended.
Yeah, I
guess. For those who can't see, Jake has a mustache.
That was a stretch.
That was a huge stretch. I pulled something there.
Yeah, that was not a good one for you. Yeah, I mean, so the last time we did a podcast was a Tampa game, and since we did our last podcast, the Ducks have gone on and won 3 straight. And so this is going to be an interesting podcast because I think there are tons of positives to talk about from this stretch that's happened. There's also going to be some things, as we are wont to do, that are going to be critiques. And I think we're going to kind of try to follow a bit of a different format here and have some fun with it. So this should be a good one. I think that I'm excited to talk about these games.
God, I know you've done the mustache November thing before, but it's very distracting. I'm going to try to just not look at you while we do this. It's omnipresent. Yeah. So different. Huh? What did you say?
Nothing.
Okay. Well, hold your tongue. Anyway, so we're gonna follow a little bit of a different format today. It's not going to be super rigid, but there's been some outcry. There's been some outpouring about the pod and about how we discuss the team, and it's nothing new. We've been doing this now for closer to a decade than not a decade, which is kind of scary. We've been doing this for a long time. Yeah, 9th season. So we're used to some pushback, but we want to give people as balanced of a picture as possible, and sometimes we do skew one way or another, positive or negative, because of what the facts dictate. But we want to make sure we at least check each box. So what we're going to do, at least for now, maybe moving forward, is we're going to follow a little bit of the format that I've been doing in my game notes articles on crashthepond.com. Subtle plug. But we're going to start with pluses, positives, minuses, negatives, and then just like a free-for-all open ice section where we can just talk about whatever. So we'll lead off with the positive, and fair warning, some weeks there might be less of it, other weeks there might be a lot of it, but we'll at least start with that so you guys can have something to really chew on, and we'll go from there.
And one thing I want to add to that, because this is kind of how we've been, is that there's going to be positives here. Obviously, they've won 3 straight. I think there's definitely going to be positives to talk about. But a lot of our opinions are dictated by kind of what we see and also what the numbers show. And that's not always going to follow what the results are going to be. And so I think if you're looking for something that's going to just kind of be cheering on the results, that's not something we've ever really been. And so if you're looking for kind of the hard-hitting analysis that we've kind of done for 9 seasons, that's what we're going to give to you right now.
Yeah, and I think that, for people who are new or newer,
sure,
just to kind of lay some ground floor expectations of how we discuss the team. So on this podcast, we focus more on the process over results. So if the team is, let's say, losing a lot of games, but we see that they're outshooting the opposition, that they're playing really good hockey, and maybe they're snake-bitten offensively or they're not getting great goaltending, we're still going to praise the team and we'll be optimistic because we'll see, hey, they are playing well, kind of beneath the surface. Flip side of that, if the team is winning a lot of games, but let's say that they're getting outshot by a ton, they're getting great goaltending, they're kind of just being very opportunistic offensively, we'll still point out the positives, but we'll give that with a caveat that this might not be the most sustainable. And then everything between that is where the spectrum lies. So for those who come to a Ducks podcast to maybe just hear about how great the team is and kind of have a cheerleader section podcast, this probably isn't the podcast for you. But if you want to stick around, we welcome you. And I think that you will learn a lot about the team, about the sport. Go check out the reviews. A lot of people feel that way. So with all that preamble, I feel like we're starting the podcast over. This is like the Declaration of Independence here.
To be honest, it's not a bad idea to do, especially with the fact that this team is 7-3-1 right now to start the season. There's probably a lot of people that are jumping on the ship. There are probably plenty of new people, so I think it's good to get this out there.
Yeah, and we want people to feel welcome. We want people to feel like this is a fun ride. But But fair warning, we are going to be objective about the team, and we're not here to blow smoke up your ass. We're also not here to just kind of beat you over the head with how crappy the team is, right? Like we want to kind of lay out as balanced of a picture as possible, but balance isn't always 50-50. Balance can be lopsided in one way or another. So anyway, let's start with the positives, and this is an easy one because the Ducks have just won 3 games in a row, and they did so yesterday against the New Jersey Devils at Honda Center in what felt like pretty convincing fashion. So I'll start with this positive, and you can evaluate this comment. It feels like the Ducks are getting better. It feels like they have won games where they maybe, were living right. They got the bounces. They didn't play great defensively. Still got the win, but it feels like the wins are starting to become a little more solid, and that could potentially bode well for what's moving forward.
I think there's something there. I think the biggest thing that has going for it is the fact that I think the Devils game was by far the most solid game that this team has played. This was a game where I think the Florida game, a lot of games previously, I know Nashville, I'd said this, but I was concerned, I think on the last podcast, about their 5-on-5 offense. I think that they were starting to really sputter a bit, especially with in-zone offense. And I think one of the things for this Devils game that was very encouraging for me is that it felt like that they were able to get to the middle of the ice. It felt like there was growth in their game within the offensive zone, and with them being able to generate those chances there. And I think defensively also they did a good job for the most part in this game. Having said that, to kind of evaluate your overall kind of take there, I think probably the Red Wings game was similar in that same manner at 5-on-5. So I think that you can probably say 2 games in a row, yes, there is some growth here. I am going to take a little bit of a cautionary approach to that, just with the fact that these are 2 teams that are more so in the currently bottom 10 of the league, but I think that there is growth that is coming through their game. So with a massive caveat to your point, yes, I'll say that.
Here's another point that I want to kind of throw in here, which builds off of that, or is part of it, is that if you look at the trend here, the game against Florida, I thought that they were really poor in the first half of the game. It really felt like, last game of the road trip, playing the reigning champs, despite being without Barkov and Tkachuk and all of that. And it looked really bad to start. And I did feel like watching the game, I didn't really look at the numbers, but it felt like they got better. They got tighter as the game went on. And that's against a Florida team that, yes, injured, but still playing very well, still a very structured veteran team. Against Detroit, it was similar, where they had these rough patches, but they were able to kind of tighten it up when they needed to ultimately sail past the Red Wings. And then similarly against the Devils yesterday, they started off, first period was pretty shaky. It was back and forth. There were some chances given up, right between the hash marks. But as the game went on, especially in the second period, it felt like they pulled away. It felt like they kind of found their game. And what's interesting is that they do it not by necessarily shutting the other team down, but just by possessing the puck, by making smart plays, by extending offensive zone time. So they still do have their rough patches, and their rough patches can be very ugly. But what has kind of popped up, at least to me recently, and I don't know if the numbers back this up or not, is that they kind of tend to figure it out as the game goes on.
So the numbers do tell a different story than that. I will at least say that. At least for if we're talking about these 3 games specifically. So in the Panthers game, they allowed a very good chance to start off the game, and then after that they kind of found a way to mellow it out from the Panthers. But then in the third period, they really did allow some flurry of chances. But there is a period
part of that
of time.
I think they were up, right?
Yeah, they were up in that game, and the Panthers were pushing. But the Ducks really flatlined, and they were allowing a ton of chances from the Panthers in that situation. And so it's not as if, like, the game I look back to is, I think, the third period against Nashville. That's the one I come back to, where they played a really, really professional third period where they shut it down. They really limited the chances against. I think And then I think Detroit, I'm looking at, this is a nice part about writing the articles that we've been writing, is that there's actually easy way to find all of the numbers. Detroit, actually, the first two periods were extremely good for this team. So in those first two periods of that game at 5-on-5, which granted, that game was the lowest 5-on-5 total for the team so far.
Lots of penalties. Yeah.
Lots of penalties. They only played 40.82 minutes of that entire game at 5-on-5. Ducks have been averaging about 47.5 minutes at 5-on-5 prior to, or with that game included, prior to last night's game. But through two periods, the Ducks had 1.64 expected goals at 5-on-5. Detroit had 0.69. So the Ducks had really been outplaying Detroit. And then when you look at kind of the shot chart from that game, the Ducks were really doing a good job of getting to the middle of the ice. That was where a lot of their chances were coming from. But they were doing a good job of limiting the Red Wings to staying to the outside, which is why I don't have it in front of me, but I would imagine the shot attempt totals were probably similar. I think Detroit maybe even had the shot on goal lead, but a lot of it was kind of sputtered about throughout the entire offensive zone for the Red Wings. The issue is, come the third period, that's where the Ducks really started allowing those chances from the Red Wings. And that was when the Red Wings, at 5-on-5 at least, removing the power play, because also the power play, the penalty kill had some issues in that game and got bailed up by Dostal, but they were allowing those chances. And so I'm more encouraged, honestly, from the first 40 minutes of that game. New Jersey, you're spot on. I think that New Jersey is an interesting game from the numbers, where they ended up losing the shot attempt, the expected goal battle, 3.62 to 3.14. Large part, though, due to kind of three big flurries through the game from the Devils, and it results in about 2 expected goals. If you take those kind of massive flurries out, then the Ducks are really sitting pretty in this game, where they're in the 3-ish range and the Devils are in like the 1.5. So this is a really that was a really good defensive performance in total, if you were to remove those kind of 3 flurries. And so I think that if you look at that game specifically, there is the path moving forward.
Yeah, and I do think that it should be noted that these are games where they also have leads in the third period, and that does kind of force the other team to try to push. And you do, like, they call it score effects for a reason. If you're leading, you're gonna maybe sit back a little bit, and the other team is gonna push. Now that doesn't excuse getting like outplayed, but there is kind of a natural push and pull that occurs there.
And these numbers, just to add in, these numbers that we state are score and venue adjusted, so they should take that into account.
But it doesn't change. It doesn't change the fact of what happened, though. Like,
sure,
you can adjust all you want, but if the other team is pushing and you're not, like, you can't adjust out of that. It might dampen the effect. It might make it look less bad, but it's still there. So, overall, like, these games do demonstrate that there's at least a blueprint that they're starting to draw up. It's still a rough draft, but it feels like it's maybe moving to a second draft.
I think 5-on-5 is still a work in progress for this team. I think last night's game was the first one where I looked and said, "Oh, there's the blueprint." Because I think prior to last night's game, I was starting to get a bit concerned about the 5-on-5 play, because there were some rough results. The Ducks, so far this season, have, I think, 4 games above 50% at 5-on-5, and those were the Blackhawks, the Predators, the Kraken, the Sharks. And granted, they were under 50% last night for the Devils, but I think that when you kind of look under the hood a bit more than just looking at the numbers, I think there's a lot of positives there for that game. And so I think we can now see, okay, this team can find a way to improve at 5-on-5. And I think that in large part the season so far and these streaks have been on the back of really good special teams and really great goaltending. And long term, that's not going to be a huge way to have repeatable success. It's great to have, but you need that 5-on-5 play to really improve. And so I think that the New Jersey game gave me more optimism about their 5-on-5 play than I've kind of had the rest of the season. Now, granted, all that to say, it's one game. They now need to kind of take that play and make it a repeatable type of thing, as they're about to play the Panthers again tomorrow.
Well, in my opinion, the last 3 games kind of show that they're trending better at 5-on-5. I don't think it's... Yesterday, the Devils game was the best one, for sure. It was the most wire-to-wire win, but I think that there were pretty good pockets in all 3 of those games. And The other thing we should mention is like we're 11 games into the season, and so we're still building out the sample. So we're not concluding really anything about this team, but at least some of what they're doing feels like it could sustain over time.
Detroit, I agree with. Florida, I don't agree with as much on that game, but fair.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it. I feel pretty good about my takeaway, regardless of the numbers say. But I'll tip my cap. I'll tip my cap to the numbers. The other thing I want to say that I think really is the other.
Look at you being Mr. Eye Test guy now.
I mean, I don't even need to look at the numbers because you're going to.
I know. I'm just giving.
So it's
the joke wrote itself there. Sorry. Like
needed to I mean, I'm definitely more eye test, but I think that I still look at the numbers. It's just especially early on in the season. Like I'm not looking very much at all.
Definitely.
But the thing that I wanted to point out about the start to the season that does make it feel. This isn't a for sure locked in truth, but what gives me some belief that it can hold up is just watching these games. Again, yesterday against the Devils, a very skilled team. The Ducks look just as skilled as they do at times. Like the Ducks have a lot of really skilled players, and at the end of the day, you're only as good as your players are. Big shocker here, big takeaway. But Leo Carlsson, we know what he is. He looks dangerous offensively. Troy Terry has come alive from a production standpoint. Mason McTavish looks like a bona fide top 6 center. Cutter Gauthier is scoring in bunches. We'll get to Beckett Senica. But that kind of top 6 talent, and then you throw in all the blue liners who we'll also touch on, and this team is just bursting with talent. Like, doesn't this feel kind of like this is the most skilled Ducks team they've had I mean, I don't know when's the last time the team has been this skilled.
It's been since late 2010s. No, 100%. Yeah. And that's something that I probably should have also said when I said this team has kind of been getting by a little bit on special teams and goaltending. I also think having high skill is also probably what has been part of that, where you're able to produce. Yeah, like you having that skill. You're not going to win every game, not going to win a ton of games if you're only relying upon that and not having the underlying process. But you're going to be able to ink out some goals if you just have these high-end talent that can create something out of nothing against the run of play. And so they have that going for them. Now it's layering that on with the improved play that's going to be important as this team kind of moves forward. But you're spot on there. The talent that's there, it feels like it's great. I want to give a quick shout-out to the fact that Troy Terry was crapped on by a lot of people to start the season. A lot of people that weren't.
I must have missed that.
There was a general discourse about Troy Terry not being good anymore, and that maybe he was just a good player or on really bad teams. And while that's probably not wrong, the thought process behind it with how he was playing, it was just simply he hadn't scored a goal yet. He had like 5 assists or something like that still, and just hadn't scored a goal. And Troy Terry's looked great. He's looked great all season. Like, Troy Terry's one of those players that's so polarizing, it seems to people, because when he's not scoring, they just kind of view him in some ways as being this negative. But he is someone that is constantly producing for this team from a on-ice perspective, whether he's scoring goals or not.
Yeah, he has 13 points in 11 games. So for the points crowd, that seems pretty good. Could be wrong, but that seems pretty good. And yeah, I mean, I think before he really broke out, again, just from a production standpoint, he, like you said, he was still playing really well. There was a game, I think, where he hit like 2 or 3 posts, so it just wasn't going in for him. I do think that part of the issue with his start has been kind of finding chemistry and finding a line that really suits him. And he started off with Terry, Carlson, Kreider. Then they broke that up. Then he was playing with he was playing with Granlund. I'm blanking on the third line center there, but doesn't quite matter. Or Granlund was the center, and I think Nestorenko was the winger. And then Granlund gets hurt. Now he's back with Carlson and Kreider, and it seems to be working all of a sudden. So Terry's one of those guys, we've talked about it a bunch, where finding the right fit for him, line mate wise, is not always the easiest task, but it's working right now. He's played great. Overall, like, there's just a lot of talent on this team, and they're missing guys. I mean, they're missing Granlund, they're missing Strome, they're missing Gudas, who I thought was playing well before he got hurt. So they're bottom 6 right now. I mean, you take a look at it. You've got Nikita Nesterenko, who's been a staple in the lineup. You've got Jansen Harkins, who's made his return. You've got Ross Johnston playing regular minutes, Sam Colangelo rotating in and out. Like, this bottom 6 isn't necessarily looking very fearsome, but I do feel like they've performed pretty well. I thought especially against the Devils. Yeah, I thought that against the Devils that the fourth line of Johnston, Harkins, Vetrano was quite good. Vetrano scored 2, which he was asked about 10 times during the post-game scrum about his first goal of the season. But yeah, so there's a lot of talent. I do want to shout out 2 guys, though.
Yeah.
Well, shout out is one way to put it, but I'll start with a pure shout out. No caveats. Ian Moore.
Mm-hmm.
Ian Moore, right shot defenseman for the Ducks, who they drafted a long time ago. The Ducks had to wait for him to finish his entire college career. He finally makes the jump. He finally signs last season, makes the jump to the NHL, gets a cameo, played a bit in the AHL last year. And I thought he looked great in training camp. I remember saying, oh, he's going to make the team. And then he didn't initially because of the Ducks' weirdness, not carrying 7 defensemen to start. But eventually he did come back up. And because of the injury to Gudas, he's been playing regularly. And to my eye, maybe the stats don't back it up, but to my eye, he looks like arguably the Ducks' best defenseman at times. I mean, I'm not saying he is the Ducks' best defenseman, but he's playing like it at times. His skating, his puck moving, his defensive fundamentals, his responsibility, he's just such a smart player. This guy to me is kind of, I don't want to say rearranging the future plans, but I mean, if he keeps this up, you potentially have some wiggle room to trade somebody or, do something with your blue line to maybe help up front, because he looks like more than a third pairing defenseman, which is what he's playing as right now. Your take on Ian Moore?
He's been really, really good. Like, really, really good. I think way better than I expected. I mean, I'm someone that really believed in Ian Moore in college.
Yeah, you liked him.
Like, I really liked him when they drafted him. I really liked him kind of more of not a stay-at-home defenseman. That was never how he profiled, but able to skate, able to move the puck, kind of more the modern-day kind of in-zone defenseman. He has way more puck-moving ability than I ever really thought he had. And his skating stride is just so smooth. He's not obviously as physical as maybe I thought he was going to be, just in my own head for whatever reason, but everything is just so smooth, and he's just such a smart player. There was one moment that the broadcast captured, and really did a good job of breaking down. I think Brian Hayward deserves a lot of credit for this. We've been hard on him at various points in time with breakdowns, but deserves it on this one. With one of the moments of Ian Moore, he kind of gets caught a little bit lower in the zone. The puck turns over, and the Devils player was, I think, wide with the puck. And instead of kind of trying to angle them and go towards them in some way and chase down the puck, he really stayed in the center of the ice, left a gap between them because he knew that eventually the Devils player was going to have to make his way back towards the middle of the ice. And so it was playing a distance game with that. And just that type of angle, that type of read that he made coming back to shut that down, eventually wins the puck back in that situation also. It's just the smarts of that on top of the skating that he has and the passing ability, that's a recipe for success right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know why, but I'm blanking on the game where this happened, but he had a play where he picks up the puck along the wall and has forechecking pressure on him. He has a guy kind of draped over him, and he just chips the puck up the wall, and I think it eventually leads to like a Ducks rush. And I can't remember if they scored or not, but he just does stuff like that all the time, where just these subtle little plays where he just, I don't want to say he plays mistake-free hockey, because he does make some mistakes here and there, but you compare him to some of the younger defensemen who have, who are still kind of learning the ropes, and he is just so far ahead of them in terms of the mental aspect of the game, which is not unsurprising. I mean, last night there was the play where he chases down Timo Meier to kill off a potential rush. Like he does. I mean, it just hit me. I write about him in every article after the game these days, so I should probably find a new angle. But he's just really good. So wanted to shout him out. The other guy that this is we'll call it a half shout out because I'm not ready to give up on the take quite yet. But I thought that against the Devils, Beckett Senica was really good. That was his best game in the NHL. He scored highlight reel goal, gets that puck, long reach, roofs it in tight. He's got a couple plays where he just dangles through defenders and he's just looking like that high-end playmaker, dangler type that we thought he would be when he was drafted. Now, mind you, that's coming off of a couple of games where he struggled a bit, where he was turning the puck over a lot. He was getting shoved off of the puck, just kind of making these continuous mistakes, which are not surprising for given his lack of experience. I thought that what was noteworthy about the Devils game is that he didn't really make those mistakes. He had one pretty bad penalty in the beginning, but what really stood out to me is at the end of the game, he enters the zone. It's an odd man rush, and you can see him kind of like almost half pass, and then he kind of catches himself and doesn't pass the puck. He waits a little bit for the play to develop, makes sure that he kind of sees everything that's going on, passes the puck across to Jackson Lacombe for a one-timer. And that kind of shows to me at least that he's starting to learn, or at least he's starting to catch himself in these moments where he's about to rush it, where he's about to maybe make a bad play. He's catching himself, realizing that he has more time than he thinks, and he's making the smarter play. Because when he hangs on to it and he actually assesses what's going on, he usually does something pretty good with it. It's just getting to that point of having that poise. That's still a work in progress for him, but that Devils game was a big step in the right direction for him. Doesn't mean it'll continue. Rookies, it's always tough to achieve that consistency, but because I've been so hard on him, I do at least want to make sure I point out that, hey, that was a good game from him.
Yeah, and if you want to kind of take steps to, just like Beckett Senica is, but for you, to improve your internet security, go check out our friends at NordVPN. Come on. But if you're listening to this and you're a sports fan out there, which if you're listening to this and not a sports fan, I would be very concerned and confused, unless I guess you're one of our relatives, maybe might be the only reason, or friend. But if you are listening to this and want to help be protected while you're watching sports out there, or maybe you're going to be on the go and you want to be able to watch your sports, watch your local things, be able to watch Victory Plus, be able to watch whatever you want, you should go check out NordVPN. They provide you the ability to hide your IP address, make sure that you are in the location that you need to be able to watch what you want. You can safely access your favorite streams and other content from home no matter where you go. Easily switch your virtual location to access apps and websites in other countries. Get access to social media and other services not available due to censorship. And so with NordVPN, it's one of the absolute fastest VPNs that you can find. It's faster than any of the other ones. You can use it on 10 different devices. It's supported on every major platform from Windows, Android, iOS, macOS, Linux, and even Android TV. It's trusted by all the experts. PC Mag has said it's excellent. Editor's Choice VPN for 2 years in a row. Forbes has it as the best VPN overall. Wired has it as the best VPN. There's so many different things out there that definitely say that NordVPN is your best strategy to be able to be used, to be able to watch what you want and have your protection out there, because it also helps provide you great security, get alerts from Dark Web Monitor, and also with NordVPN you get access to NordPass for a great password protector. I've used it prior to this partnership. It is my go-to. It is absolutely fantastic. So you can get an exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/CTP. Once again, that's nordvpn.com/CTP. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. All this information will be in the episode description for you to click if you're listening to this after the fact.
There you go. You're getting called out for your segue.
I'm going to say that people are saying a good thing about that segue.
There you go.
I had one with the Ian Moore setup of being, if you want to be smart, and then you transition to Beckett Senica before I could pull it off.
You should have said even more, like
Ooh.
Ian Moore. Anyway, future reference. Okay. Well, any thoughts from you on Seneca positively before we start going into some more dangerous territory?
Oh, I'm gonna let you do all the dangerous stuff. This is all yours. Somehow I'm gonna catch a stray for it though.
But any thoughts on just his game?
Sure. So this is maybe previewing what you're about to say, but I think you had a really good breakdown of him on the Patreon. Go to patreon.com/crashspawn, where you did a shift breakdown of him in the Detroit Red Wings game. He had a rough game in terms of turnovers in that game. He was giving the puck up, not taking his time, and really killing some plays. I think that's something that I've seen from him for most of the season. He's been soft on the boards. There's been some power plays specifically. I can't remember the game, but it just kind of died on his stick on the boards. Once he would get physically pushed, the puck would go away. And this has kind of shown itself also in some of the numbers for him so far this season. If you look at the Rapham charts on Evolving Hockey, offensively, actually really solid. The issue for him is defensively, where he kind of breaks the scale on there, and so you have to adjust the scale of the Rapham chart and able to be able to see the full impact of him defensively. But he is 1 Z-score above average offensively. And so that kind of tracks. Like, when he's had his flashes offensively, he's looked really good. The issue is giving the puck over, his poor awareness in the defensive zone, and everything like that. But to kind of what you were saying about him, the Devils game really felt like a much different game from him. It felt like he had a few turnovers here and there, but he felt like he was much smarter with the puck. He felt like he was smarter with his challenges. He wasn't killing plays with when he was going, taking the puck forward. And it felt like in the D zone, I think there was one play specifically where he broke up a pretty nice pass across, and it led to a transition in the other direction. It felt like there was just better awareness from him overall in that game. And so that was a really good sign. If that is the Beckett Senica that we see, I think that this is a guy that could be useful for this team in a top 6 role.
Yeah. And so it remains to be seen. It's just one game, and he literally just played 2 days before where he kind of looked like the opposite. Yep. I also do think that what's so tough with evaluating players on a game-by-game basis is that there are some games where certain situations just don't happen where their weaknesses are. Like, he just didn't end up along the boards that much in that Devils game, whereas in other games he is along the boards a lot more, and so you'll see that kind of come out a little bit. So I think that what's really important with Seneca is that, sure, there's a lot of flaws. Like, there just are. People hate when I say that, but there just are for where he is right now as a rookie. But the flashes are there. Like, the flashes are seriously there. The flashes are high end. Like, he is dangling people. He is making really creative plays, and he looks really confident doing it. He is taking on defenders one-on-one, and sometimes you can see he tries to do too much, and he tries to do the stuff he did in junior, doesn't work. But if that wasn't happening, then that's when you're concerned. But if the flashes are coming in, like, you know, from a development standpoint, you live with the rest. There was that tidbit from Zach Kavanaugh in an interview with Seneca where he said that the coaching staff is giving him 1 to 2 things to work on each game to kind of take away and implement. And I think that that's great, because you don't want to necessarily information overload a young player that's adjusting to the speed, the best hockey he's ever played. So no actual long-term concerns for me with him. It's all just watching the game, seeing where he's at right now. You want another positive?
Yeah.
I'll give you another positive. The Ducks power play. So what's really weird about this power play is that there are games and sequences where it looks really rough, but it is a lot better than it was last year. If you look at the power play numbers, so last year, the Ducks power play generated 7.59 expected goals for per 60 on the power play. And this year they're at 11.04. They are generating a lot more offense, a lot more chances on the power play. So even when there's games where they aren't getting to the zone or they aren't getting set up, on balance so far this season, they are still a lot more dangerous. And if that continues or even improves, this this could be a potentially huge asset for the Ducks as they try to make the playoffs.
Yep. Can I give you both a plus and a minus?
Well, yeah. Now we're entering dangerous territory. We're entering minus territory. So
can I give you a plus and a minus at the same time?
Yes.
The penalty kill. The penalty kill is interesting if you just look at the numbers of it all. They are third in the league at expected goals for per 60 on the penalty kill. They are at 1.61 expected goals for per 60. The Golden Knights are first at 1.9. There are only 11 teams with over 1. And so the Ducks, from an offensive chance perspective, while they're killing penalties, are one of the best teams in the league at doing that. And that's made sense if you look at how they've created chances, right? With Leo Carlsson, Troy Terry. The issue is when they don't score and they get stuck in their own zone, which is what usually happens on a penalty kill. They are sitting at 23rd in the league at 10.17 expected goals against. Sorry, or I guess to reframe that, that is 10th worst in the league. The worst is 23rd. At 14. Yeah.
Just say 23rd. Yeah.
Well, it's whichever way you want to look at it.
23rd is 23rd. It's not good.
Sure, with first being the lowest total. So 10.17 expected goals against. And so the penalty kill is this kind of Jekyll and Hyde thing where they are definitely trying to go out and create chances and create offense, which is great, but they are giving up a lot of chances. I think that Red Wings game comes to mind specifically where there were some really rough penalty kills within there, and they allowed a goal pretty quick and easy to brink at. There was a penalty kill that came right after that where they were fortunate to be able to come out of that without allowing a goal, and in large part, it's just due to Lucas Dostal. And so I think the penalty kill from an offensive perspective is a massive plus, but obviously when you're on a penalty kill, you're more looking to try to limit chances against. And that's what they've struggled with so far.
I know that people love to say power kill, like the penalty kill, but it's like, let's remember what the penalty kill is about. It's about preventing chances first and foremost. And sure, you can get 1, 2-on-1 or 3-on-2 shorthanded a game, but that doesn't really matter if you're giving up the slot in the middle of the ice constantly. And there are games where the Ducks penalty kill looks pretty porous. So yeah, I'm kind of with you there where the power play has been a real positive for the team, but then the penalty kill continues to be a problem. I guess it's an improvement over last year, though. I mean, remember how bad the penalty kill was? Huh?
Where both were problems?
Yeah. Last year, everything was awful special teams wise. So at least now you've got something to hang your hat on. I think what's kind of interesting is that they're 23rd right now at 10.17. Last year they were 30th shorthanded, but 30th was 10.08. So this kind of shows what the sample size theater will do.
It also makes sense. I think
10.17 was the Kraken at 31 last year.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense when you think about it because I think early in the season teams are a little bit more loose and then things tighten up with penalty kills as things go on throughout the season. So that kind of checks out. I have another positive actually though, which we haven't.
You're hijacking the minuses portion, but go for it.
This is something we haven't talked about yet, but it's something
I was trying to give you the space to be,
be what?
To do what you do.
To do what? To do what? Be what? Do what? Do what?
I'm not to do what you do. To do what you do.
Okay. So I'm gonna do what I do, and I'm gonna do what I do right now, and say that we haven't talked about Lucas Dostal enough on this show yet. Named
Agreed.
number 1 star of the week for the NHL. He has just been absolutely stellar so far this season. Mm-hmm. The game against the Devils, yes, that was an improved game for the team, but without Dostal, that is probably a tie game. Good. That is a tie game, probably going to overtime. I think what's so fascinating when you watch him is just how in control he seems. It feels like every piece of movement from him is so smooth, so in control. There's very rare a situation where he has to kind of really go out and lunge. It just feels like every single read he's making on the puck is just perfect right now. He's attacking to the top of the crease when needed, going back and retreating to be able to make quick slides against when needed. I think there was a pass across that he got across just so easily. I think it was against the Devils. And I think a cross-ice pass to Timo Meier at the end of a power play where he ended up staying deeper so he could make that cross-ice move and just shut it down so quick and easy. It feels like at this point in time with Lucas Dostal, if there is a clean shot coming to him, it doesn't go in. And it's something where if you kind of look at some of his numbers from Micah at HockeyViz, he does a nice little breakdown of different types of shots. The only type of shot that he struggled with so far this year from a goal to expected goal ratio is a tip/deflection, which kind of makes sense that it's one that
very
can be
difficult to stop.
Like not only difficult to stop, but I feel like that's just gonna kind of be variance based, right? Like there's gonna be some tips that are gonna be placed in a better spot than others. Like so it feels like that can kind of come back. And so wrist shots, he's allowed 15 goals on 21.5 expected goals. Slap shots, 1 goal on 2.5 expected goals. The tip deflection, 6 goals on 3.9 expected goals. Backhands, I mean, really also looking at this, there just aren't many backhands or slap shots in the NHL anymore.
What's the expected goals for backhand? I'm curious.
2.2 expected goals, and he's allowed 1 goal.
So still higher than slap shot? Or is it lower, slightly lower?
Slightly lower than slap shot.
I mean, it goes to show the backhand and the slap shot are basically dead, which is kind of sad, but it is what it is. Blame the stick companies. But yeah, he leads the NHL in goals saved I've expected. Like he is.
Does he now after last night? I missed.
He's number one. Number one is number one.
I am ashamed that I did not look at that prior to putting out my article today.
I'm outnumbering you right now.
You are. Look at you, Mr. Eye Test guy, outnumbering me.
I mean, so I was actually thinking about this yesterday, and when I first started really getting into like writing about hockey and like doing podcasts and stuff, I was very, very numbers based. And as I've kind of gone on, I've gotten more into the eye test side of things. But I do feel like in a way, starting with the numbers, it kind of keys you in on what to look for and what works.
Yeah.
And then once you've kind of got that down, I'm not saying you can let it go, but it gives you a foundation. Whereas I feel like sometimes if you do the opposite, you might miss some stuff. So,
well, also the numbers are always a nice thing to come back to be able to do a sanity check. And it's funny because you and I will talk about games almost after every game through text. And pretty much always kind of where the numbers ended up at through our text and when I show them to you is basically where your eye test was at. And that's kind of what having those numbers end up doing for you. Is you kind of start to build what to look for and what you want to see in games and what's impactful, what's not impactful. Yeah.
So Dostal has been great. It really shouldn't go under discussed how he's been the best goalie in the NHL so far. And it was interesting because I was reading the Eric Stevens article today about John Gibson's homecoming, and Gibson wouldn't really say much about why he left. It was a lot of just, it was time and it was hard and blah, blah. But he did mention like giving off the crease to Dostal.
Yeah.
And I mean, you kind of see why. Like as a goalie, even though you can do the tandem, when you have two guys in Gibson and Dostal who are worthy number one goaltenders, it's just very hard to play knowing that, hey, if you have a bad game, like there's another guy who might be better than you, who can just come in and steal the crease. Like that's very difficult mentally. And I think that if nothing else, maybe for Gibson, it was just time to go somewhere where he could just be the number one. And I think that it's worked for both guys because Dostal is clearly the number one. He doesn't have to worry about John Gibson coming back from an injury. I mean, remember last year, Dostal had almost the same start. And then Gibson comes back from appendicitis, and then Dostal basically doesn't play for like a month. Like it was this really weird thing, and now it's like he's got the crease, he's the guy, he's the number one, and it honestly feels like he's not going to let it go for the next 7 years.
Yeah, 100%. Can I go into your memory bank real quick on Dostal? Just this has nothing actually to do with this. This isn't that relevant, but still fun.
Sure.
Do you remember when we were like following him when he was playing over? He was in Liga for a bit? Did he ever go to the Swedish league? I think he was just in Finland. And you and I were both really impressed with his numbers. And the prospect people were always downplaying
the
size. And that was something you and I were very confused about, with the fact that he's still, what is he, 6 foot, 6'1"?
Yeah, he's 6'1".
He's not short. Like, how are you defining him as small, and he's putting up these numbers? And I mean, lo and behold, he's become kind of that goalie you and I kind of both were really excited about way back when.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm tooting our horns a little bit here.
I mean, we didn't do anything revolutionary. We just looked at the save percentage, good, and didn't really overthink it beyond that. Whereas others saw a 928 in 43 games in Liga in 1920 and said, "Oh, well, actually, he's small." It's like there's this whole thing in the scouting world where sometimes you just got to look at the player and say, is he good at hockey or not? Like, maybe he's not as tall, maybe he's not as big, maybe he's not as mean, but is he good at the actual sport? And Lukas Dostal is very, very, very good at hockey, very, very good goalie, and that's what should matter. Like, I think about Roger McQueen right now, who's struggling a little bit offensively in college, which is not to be unexpected. And it's like, yeah, it's great that he went to somewhere where he can work out and he can get bigger, but like the point of development is to get better at the sport. You're not trying to win a bodybuilding contest. So anyway, I'm gonna leave that alone. But with Dostal, the other thing I want to point out is that he doesn't play like a small goalie. Like small, and again, I don't think he's small, but for a non 6'5" behemoth goalie, usually the goalies who are a little bit on the shorter side relative to NHL goalies, they're a little more chaotic in the net. I think UC Saros is kind of like that at times, but Dostal he plays like a big goalie. He plays, and I'm not saying he's playing big because that's kind of a trope with goalies, but he plays like very economical. He stays back in his crease. He's not hyper aggressive. You don't see him get beat with cross ice passes because, like you pointed out earlier, he stays deeper in his crease so he can get across more easily, and he trusts his reflexes to where, if he's a little deeper in that shot, there might be more net to shoot at, but he's quick enough to where he'll get to it. So he's just an elite goalie. Like, there's nothing more to it.
Do I do it? You know who I just thought of as you're saying that, and kind of was the epitome of that for the prior generation? Henrik Lundqvist, the greatest goalie of that generation, was 6'1". And
was he really? I was about to look it up.
I have it up. Was 6'1", played deeper in his net. Like, what reads were fantastic. Like, that was what made him so great. Did not play like a small goalie and came out and challenged. He would read the play perfectly. Yeah.
And I think that,
honestly, that is not I'm not trying to set the bar too high that basically Lukas Dostal is going to become Henrik Lundqvist and have that lineage, but that is kind of, I think, an interesting comparison for how he plays.
Well, Henrik Lundqvist kind of changed the position of goaltending with that approach, because before it was always you got to challenge, you got to cut down the angle, make yourself big, and goalies just kind of realize you don't necessarily have to do that, and you can still dominate. And Dostal is doing that. Do you think that there's a chance that he can win the Vezina this season?
I think there's a chance. I'd say it's unlikely. I think Hellebuck is just going to run away with it again, but there's always a chance.
He's got better stats than Hellebuck right now, so
he does. Will
that continue?
That's the question, because Dostal had these numbers. That's my big question with Dostal as the season goes on, is he put up these types of gaudy numbers also last season, if you look at it.
He did have a downturn.
By the middle of the season, kind of really wore on him a little bit. And so what was that a great Cronin effect? Was we'll have to come to find out. But I think I'm really excited by the way he's playing, but that is the test for him.
Yeah, I mean, because that's what makes a number one or not, is can you sustain excellence throughout the season and not just be hot and cold.
And he is probably going to have to with the way Peter Mrazek has been playing. He's going to have the net, I think, on a lot of nights.
And now this goes to a negative.
Okay.
Now this is a pure negative. So earmuffs if you don't want to hear this. But where I worry a little bit for Dostal's Vezina candidacy and his ability to sustain this gaudy production is the fact that the Ducks, as of right now, as of November 3rd, 8:50 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, are the worst defensive team at 5-on-5 in the NHL, giving up 3.5 expected goals against per 60, which is in fact worse than what they were last season. Now, of course, small sample, blah, blah, blah. You know the caveats. But as far as what they have done so far, they have been very, very leaky on the whole at 5-on-5. That is just concerning. That is something that we're seeing kind of get shored up in the last couple of games, but they need to pick it up massively, to actually get anywhere this season.
Yep. Is it my turn for a negative now?
Well, I mean, I feel like I just threw you a bone here. Are you not gonna do anything with it? Like,
I'm gonna add to that right now. Don't worry.
Okay.
My concern overall is just the overall 5-on-5 play, not just defensively, like offensively. Like, yes, we talked to the front about kind of the positives from these games and what's there, and that there are things that can be built upon. But at the end of the day, the Ducks are, like you said, the worst team at 5-on-5 from a defensive perspective. Offense is still 7th, but if you look at the way it's trended, that's largely due to kind of earlier parts of the season. The offensive game and the expected goals for per 60 have really kind of taken a bit of a dive down since the early parts of the season when they were playing the Kraken and the Sharks and the Penguins. Like, there were a lot of really good offensive games from the teams that were wide open, but also that's just kind of early season, and as things tighten up, teams play more games, that kind of comes back to earth, and the Ducks offensively have done that a little bit. And so my concern is that this is still a team that's at 45.89 expected goals for percentage, good for 26th in the league. That's not to say this is who they are. We're 11 games into the season. This can very easily change with improvement, but these are the numbers. These are the facts for kind of who this team has been. They have been a subpar 5-on-5 team. They are a more exciting team for sure, because they are someone that plays a bit more up-tempo offensively, and it's kind of fire wagon hockey a bit, and that's going to be more entertaining. But they're 45% expected goals team. Like, this just really needs to improve from them from a 5-on-5 perspective moving forward. And in addition to that, we talked about this last episode, but they've played some softer teams, and
they've had a lot of rest too.
And they've had a lot of rest. There have not been really... Have there been any back-to-backs yet?
Which in theory should also mean more practices, like more time to get the system down. So
and the only teams that they've come out of with a positive 50% or more expected goals share are the Kraken, who's 32nd in expected goals, the Sharks, who are 31st in expected goals, the Predators, who are 28th in expected goals, and the Blackhawks, who are 22nd. The Devils, they were close, and the Devils are 20th. Like, the Devils aren't this great 5-on-5 team Devils as of right now. The Red Wings are 10th, so maybe they still lost the 5-on-5 battle against the Red Wings, but that was a weird game that didn't have a lot of flow or 5-on-5 play at all. And so this upcoming stretch is going to be a tough one. The Panthers, for as much as for them missing the players that they are missing, they're 4th in the league in expected goals for percentage so far this season.
Yeah, and another thing to point out, which is something that Joel Quenneville brought up, so don't be mad at us, but they also got Detroit and New Jersey on back-to-backs. Both of those teams had played the night before. Sure. Detroit had gone to the shootout the night before, so they got all of the Kings that night. So the schedule has definitely favored them, and to come out of it with these pretty poor numbers is concerning. But like you said, it's a small sample, and I do think that we're at least seeing now where they do still have these stretches where they just look completely lost defensively, but then it improves as the game goes along, or there'll be pockets of the game. Maybe it's not in a straight line, but there'll be pockets in the game where it'll look a lot better. And I think that slowly but surely that might get better. I also do think that there's two reasons for optimism there. I think that the way that they're structured now, playing this zone defense in their own defensive zone, is just more conducive to their talent. It's more because we talked about it all of last year, like the man-to-man that Cronin wanted them to play was just so antithetical to what they were. And now at least this seems to fit the roster. They're hanging back. They're kind of all staying in their positions. and when the time is right, they'll jump up and pressure a guy, but they're not chasing people around. Like there's more sequences now where, like last year, if you'll recall, like if an opposing player would be skating up near the offensive blue line and there'd be another guy coming in to do kind of like a little handoff, like a little permutation, the Ducks would always just blow that switch. They would always just get lost on that, and it would lead to like a mini 4-on-3 basically. That doesn't happen anymore because they're not chasing people around. They're just hanging back in their shell. Now, the shell isn't perfect. They still lose people backdoor, and that's concerning. But I think that this at least is something that I think has more of a chance to work. And the other thing, which we haven't really talked about much this season, because the season is still very young, but I just think that this team is more likely to listen to this coaching staff. I mean, we all know the stories about Greg Cronin last year and how he was just getting on people's nerves. This isn't necessarily a praising of Quenneville, but it's just, first off, it's not Greg Cronin. Also, I just think the staff and their communication seems a lot better so far. And I think they're more likely to learn and improve in these circumstances than they were last year.
Yeah. I guess one positive way to spin this expected goal share, because you're right with kind of being able to improve, is I think back to not last year but the year before, the Vancouver Canucks. Not any similarity between manpower or anything like that, but they were a team that really kind of got by on special teams and goaltending early in the season that drove them to an upper portion of the league, where I thought they were a massive regression candidate. They weren't going to make the playoffs. And they really changed the way they played and really improved their 5-on-5 play throughout the season. And to where they turned something that started out unsustainable, they got those points. You can't take away the points once you get them. And then with the improved play, they kind of added on top of all that. And so that is, I think, I
have another
Sure.
I have another example for you.
Mm-hmm.
My Montreal Canadiens last season started off as one of the most abysmal defensive teams you'll ever see. I mean, they not only were giving up the chances, they were also, the goals were going in, and they looked awful, and they looked like they might be destined for another high pick. And around the holidays, they had this trip down into Florida and then against Colorado, where from that point on, like their defensive game, like they changed their system, they tightened up, they became one of the better 5-on-5 teams for a long stretch, and they ended up making it in the playoffs. And I think that Canadiens team was similar to this Ducks team in that there's a lot of young players. You're counting on young players to really carry the mail. There was also a lot of veterans, which there are on this team. So, like, it can happen, right? Where a team looks a certain way and they end up changing and improving. So nothing is final or conclusive at this juncture.
Yeah. This is just a snapshot of how they have played so far. Especially in such a small sample. This is not necessarily who they're going to be. This is just who they have been.
Yep. It's exactly what you said. It's just, this is what's happened. That is it. That is the end of the story. And then it's up to us to decide, like, well, is that what's going to continue to be? Is that going to change? Like, and I think that you and I have both kind of settled on, like, I don't think we really know yet. Like, because we're both of the type that are very, like, sometimes we'll just have a gut feeling and it'll just stick. And I think that there's still a little bit of, like, it could go either way with this team. Like, we just don't really know yet what's going to happen. So,
yep. Before we get to questions, man, this is going to be a long one, but is what it is. Should we chat about what Elliot Friedman said today?
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. I'm glad we spent more time, though, talking about the actual hockey and the team. But, yes, we should talk about this.
Yeah. So Elliot Friedman today kind of pondered on the 32 Thoughts podcast about the fact that Pat Verbeek is someone that has gone out and taken swings for players, whether that is Steven Stamkos, whether that is Jonathan Marchessault. Do we know if he was do you know if he was fully in on DeBrincat? I can't remember if that was the case or if that was just a rumor, but regardless, the point is that he believes that Pat Verbeek is someone that has taken swings. And he started to wonder about Artemi Panarin for the Ducks.
And by the way, I just want to jump in and say that when Elliot Friedman quote unquote wonders about stuff, sometimes it can actually end up happening. It doesn't always, but his I wonder sometimes can be a veiled or hidden. I'm actually hearing stuff, so I wouldn't just like ignore this. I would definitely put at least a little stock into it.
Yeah, but he came up with that. I want to get. What's your take on that? What's your take on? First off, the Ducks just he's an unrestricted free agent this summer. What would you make of the Ducks either trading for him with an extension or just signing him outright in the offseason?
He's 34. Like, if we're going to be consistent here,
yep,
the Ducks have done, in my opinion, with Pat Verbeek, too much of bringing on these early to mid-30s players. And I think that what's kind of really cropped up this season is that it's either kids or old guys. And there's not really anyone that's in their prime. I mean, there's Terry, you could argue Lacombe and Moore entering that. But there's this big kind of gap. And I really like Artemi Panarin as a player. Do not get me wrong. He is one of the most skilled players that I've seen. But at 34, whatever that next contract is going to be, like, do you really want to sign that bill? And how many more seasons can he really give you? Because, yeah, he's still really, really good on the power play. But, I mean, the 5-on-5 numbers took a dip last year. Now, to be fair, the Rangers were not good. So how much of that was him? How much of that was the Rangers? He was very good at 5-on-5 the year before. But, again, he's 34. Like, it's not going to go... The arrow is no longer pointing up, and that doesn't mean that he can't fight off Father Time and that he can't, we see this with elite players where they continue to be elite beyond when you think that they would really decline. But as a general rule, that's not usually the case. If you look at his tracking data last season, his micro stats, he was still very good at like entering the zone, controlled zone entries, passes into the slot, shot assists, setting people up. Like, it was all there, but he's not the fastest skater. He's never been. So that might be a nothing burger take, but a guy who's not necessarily the most mobile as he gets even older. Like, I just don't know, unless you can get him on like a 2-year deal. Let's call it 2 years, give him a bunch of money. Then yes, maybe, but I don't think I'd give up assets to get him. I think that I'd just take my chances in free agency.
First off, agreed completely on that. I don't know if I would give up assets for him. I would just wait till free agency.
Also, it's like, what's the price tag?
And here's the other flip side. If the Ducks didn't have Kreider, if they didn't have Granlund, if they didn't have Killorn, if they didn't have Strome, if they didn't have, well, Gudas won't be here next year supposedly. Not under contract. If they didn't have Vetrano, if they didn't have all these guys that are in their 30s. Then I think you can make the argument, hell, if they didn't have like 2 of those guys. So if you get rid of like Strome and Vetrano and bring in Panarin, sure. Or you get rid of Killorn. Like, it's just at a certain point, you're just kind of adding to this crop of older players. Yes, Panarin is better than all of those guys
combined.
But like, you need to make the roster space. Like, you've already kind of made your bed with these players a bit. And so you need to get these guys off your roster if that's going to happen. So that'd be the only way I would be okay with it from that side of it. But also, I think it's worth mentioning this part of it is I'm not sure if the Ducks are going to have cap space to do it.
Ooh.
Like, should we have the Leo Carlsson conversation of this point production might not be fully sustainable. He's not going to end up at whatever the point per game ratio he is over an 82 game sample. I'm pretty confident in saying that. But even if he falters and ends up at a point per game, at a 70, 80 point, like,
yeah,
he is going
over
to get
10.
paid.
He's getting over 10.
And Cutter Gauthier is going to get paid. Cutter Gauthier might get over 10.
Do you want to know Leo Carlsson's pace?
What's his pace?
119 points.
He's going to get 12 if he ends up over 100 points.
Oh, at least. I mean,
what was the Cooley deal? That was 10, right?
I still haven't actually seen that because I thought he wasn't signing this season. And then
he signed.
Signed. Did that happen last week?
Yeah.
I'm not his Twitter. I'm not on his not on Twitter as much as they used to be.
He signed an 8-year, $80 million deal, so 8 times 10.
Yeah, and I mean, prior to this season, he had a 65-point season. Like, if Karlsson being the second overall pick,
yep,
big center, puts up point per game or close to it, he's getting 11. He's getting 11, 12. So yeah, that is something to look out for. You're right that the cap space might not be there. I mean, if it's a trade, that's where it might get interesting and more feasible. Maybe you can trade like a Ryan Strome, or you can move some contracts. And hell, you could maybe trade Frank Vetrano. I mean, that might be the best use of his contract at this point.
Here's the other two things of this. I'm not sure why the Rangers would trade Panarin.
Well, I think the Rangers would trade Panarin if
they're out.
If they just kind of realize, okay, like we're not going to make the playoffs. We don't think he's coming back. We want to enter this next phase. Like we're basically rebuilding. Then I think that's when they would do it. But I don't think that's going to happen until at least the trade deadline.
I also don't think that's
it would be weird timing.
I also don't think that's where their mindset is as an organization. Like, you don't bring in Mike Sullivan if you're going to do that. Like, that's just not where they're at.
But let's say they're actually out of it at the deadline, though.
Sure.
Like let's say that they're out of it, and let's say the Ducks are in it, right? Like,
I mean, would Panarin waive his? And here's the other question: Panarin has a full NMC, and this is not the part that we've talked about at all yet. But would Panarin want to come to Anaheim?
Well, let's play it out. If the Rangers are out of it, and the Ducks are in it, and the Ducks look exciting. I think he's also played for Joel Quenneville.
He has.
They could be enticing to him. Players want to win. I mean, we saw it this summer. Noah Dobson choosing to go to Montreal after they had an exciting playoff, appearance. Like, things can change, but I think that's what it would take. As to the NMC discussion, like the Ducks would have to be good this season.
I'm not even sure that that's enough, though.
Because I'm just saying that's what needs to happen.
Well, I know, but to my point here is that if I would imagine Panarin is going to go to a place where he can win a cup. Like, to me, the team that I've circled for Artemi Panarin is the Florida Panthers. Like that's one
boring.
I know, but like Sergei Bobrovsky and him are buddies from their Columbus days. Like,
they're all old.
Like, that's a team that is old and just trying to hang on and win another cup. Like, that is where he likely will go.
I will say this, as far as the no move clause, like that is what would have to happen is the Ducks would have to be good. I also just think that if you're Panarin, why would you accept a trade this season with an extension? Like, wouldn't you be better off waiting, like doing everything you can to get to July 1st and break the bank? I mean, he could potentially rob a bank this summer. I mean, just take it.
There's no one available left.
Right. Like, there's no one available. Cap is going up. If he's still productive this season, like he could get a raise. He could potentially get a raise. As crazy as that sounds, like if he takes a short-term deal, he could get a raise. Or he could do a longer-term deal and get close to what he was making. Like, he could do something that very few NHL players get to do, which is get another bite at the financial apple past 32, 33, 34. That is usually not the case. It usually becomes short-term deals with low money. He could have another real contract. It won't be 8 years, obviously, unless maybe it's the Panthers, which they don't seem to care how old you are. They'll still give you a bunch of term. So I just think that if nothing else, regardless of the team, it could just be a matter of he just wants to get paid. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Yeah. All right. Anything else, or want to get to questions?
As far as a trade, though, let's say that like you get to that point where a trade is potentially feasible. What do you think it would take to get him with an extension? Obviously, because you don't do it otherwise.
I honestly have no clue.
What if he's just a pure rental? Could he just end up being a pure rental?
I think that's more likely than an extension.
Pure rental Artemi Panarin. What does that cost you?
conditional first.
Would you give up your first round pick this year for a rental of Panarin?
If I'm the Ducks, no.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Even if they're in it, like I'm not doing that. I'm not giving my first round pick, regardless.
I'd give up my first round pick if it's a player in his prime that is under contract
that you can re-sign. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. Okay.
So there are ways to give up your first, but let's get to questions.
I just wouldn't really do it in general.
Yep.
Not interested.
All right, so we're going to start with our Patreon exclusive Discord. Go to patreon.com/crashpond, where if you subscribe at the $2 tier, you get access to our Discord and you can ask questions in there. So D Frenzy said, will the Ducks honestly be doing better with Zegras in their bottom six? I feel like they could have played him there at center and he might have flourished under Quenneville. Then again, I feel like it was a toxic situation in Anaheim. He seems to have found some of his old swagger back.
Yeah, so earmuffs if you don't want to hear about Trevor Zegras, but he is having a great season so far in Philly. I think that points-wise, he is at, let's see here, he is at 13 points in 12 games. I mean, this is probably one of the best production streaks he's had in his NHL career, so that's great to see. We'll cheer for the former Duck. Would they be better off with him in their bottom six? Yeah, they would. I mean, he's a good player. Having more good players is good, especially right now with the injuries that the Ducks have had.
And if, for instance, let's say that they did move him to the wing. I mean, he's playing on the wing in Philadelphia. But if you had him over Beckett Senica, for as much as like Seneca has shown the flashes, Trevor Zegras is a more complete player right now.
Zegras is older. He's just more polished. He's also very skilled. I mean, he's one of the most skilled players in the league.
Mm-hmm. McTavish Zegras would have been fun.
I mean, the thing too is that a lot of the reason why Zegras had to play center was because of the way that Cronin's team played, but now he's in Philly playing on the wing, and it doesn't really look as restrictive as it would have with Cronin. So,
yep. Speaking of Greg Cronin, Shake and Wing said, where would the Ducks be right now if Cronin was still the coach? Okay,
so I'm going to say this. I have been watching the Ducks post-game pressers that are up on YouTube. Derek posts them, Zach posts them, and every Greg Cronin post-game presser, it was always like the end of the world, serious face, sky's falling, or like he just couldn't stop talking. He was just so elated. And look, I have time for people who wear their heart on their sleeves. I probably am one of them. But with Quenneville, he is almost always the same. And I do think that having a coach like that, who's very steady, who's very seasoned, it doesn't have to be Quenneville. This isn't unique to Quenneville, but someone who's really been around the NHL block, that is very helpful for a team. Whereas right now with Cronin, like if you have a Seneca turnover or a Minchikov turnover or you could have guys getting scratched, you could have guys getting benched, you could have all these things happening. And instead, it just feels like this team is just going at its own pace, playing through mistakes. Eventually, I'm sure the hammer will come down if things continue, but to answer the question, they would be worse off with Greg Cronin.
Yeah, agreed. O'Lally17 said, could Leo Carlsson win a Selke in his career?
I am a little skeptical of that.
Yeah.
He has not been very good defensively this season. He also just, what is he at in the faceoff dot? Because that... No. Like, just thinking about what voters look at.
You're asking me about face-off percentage.
I mean, it's a stat. It's a stat. It's a number. He's at 42%. You're not winning any Selkies with the 42% face-off percentage. That's just the way it works.
Yeah. We used to be mighty said the Ducks have a brutal week coming up against the Panthers, Stars, Golden Knights, Jets, and Avs, and at the same time, only 1 point separates the Ducks, first in the Pacific, from the Kings sitting just outside the wild card spot. I want a yes or no answer from each of you. At the end of the night on November 11th, so this was his thing of, Panthers, Stars, Golden Knights, Jets, Avs. Will the Ducks still be in a playoff spot?
I love that Ferda has been listening to us long enough to where he knows what to do to like fully pin us into answering the question. Like there's just no escaping this. Okay, let's just go through it. Ducks Panthers Tuesday night, Honda Center.
I mean, I think that probably should be a loss.
They're at home though. They're at home against an Eastern team. Usually that helps.
Maybe. I mean, did the Panthers play tonight?
Are
any of these teams on back-to-backs?
Honestly, that's probably a great...
Skadoosh is saying get the clips ready.
They don't play. They don't play tonight.
Okay.
I'll say the Ducks get a point tomorrow. I'll say they get a point.
I'm not doing the point. I'm just saying they lose that game. Stars in Dallas.
I feel like the Stars haven't been great, have they?
They have not been great.
I just feel like the Ducks lose that game. Dallas is a tough building. That's a good team.
You know what? I'm going to backtrack. I'll say they get a point here.
Okay. So we have a point out of 4 to start.
Correct. Ducks versus Golden Knights. I think that's in Vegas?
Yes, it is. Okay. Bottom team on Google is always home.
Okay. They lose that game.
That's just... I hate to say it, but until proven otherwise, Ducks in Vegas is an auto L.
Yeah. Winnipeg.
So that's at home.
That's at home. A 7 p.m. start for a Sunday game at home.
Now, they do play the night before in Vegas, so it's a short trip.
Does Winnipeg play in L.A.?
Do the Ducks sleep in their own bed Saturday night?
Oh, well, are the Jets going to be playing Hellebuck on... Do the Ducks play on Saturday? Or, sorry, the Jets play on Saturday, that game, or that day.
Also, one thing I didn't know about is that the Ducks have to fly into Ontario or LAX when they come in late because of the John Wayne curfew.
Yep.
So do they just sleep in Vegas on Saturday?
Probably.
Instead of flying in at like 2 a.m.? I mean, flying in at whatever time and then driving in at like 2 a.m.?
So the Jets do not play on Saturday at all. The Jets don't have back-to-back. They are going to be fully rested, so the Ducks will likely get Connor Hellebuck. I would imagine that Dostal probably plays against Vegas.
Yeah, what do you do goaltending-wise there?
Play Dostal in both games.
You know what I would do?
What?
I would
in Vegas and Winnipeg Dostal?
I would go Mrazek Husso in Vegas. Let Dostal stay home. Let Dostal just stay home, sleep in his own comfy bed, and then he starts Sunday. Send back Husso. Just saying, that's what I would do.
You know that they're going to be starting Dostal against Vegas, though.
Yes, because
they're going to view that as a measuring stick game. They want to play Dostal.
I mean, is Winnipeg not a measuring stick game outside of the fact that it's not the same division? Like,
I think same division. Vegas is top, like one of the top teams in the league right now. Winnipeg, I think standings-wise, is not in that same situation.
Also, there's just no one you can play Mrazek against and feel comfortable, but Jets is probably a little bit more comfortable than Vegas.
Yeah. So we both agree Vegas loss.
Yeah.
What do you think about Winnipeg with Mrazek in net? And they have Hellebuck.
I think they lose that game if Mrazek is playing.
I do too.
Did they win the game that Mrazek played?
They've won both games that Mrazek has played.
You know what? Screw it. I'm doubling back. I'll say they win that game against all odds.
Here's the issue. Mrazek has not played an actual like good goalie on the other end yet.
Yeah, but the Ducks can score. At least we believe they can score.
Can they score against Connor Hellebuck is the question. They've scored against a ton against Korpisalo and Askarov.
Yeah. I'll just say that they win one of those two games. I don't know which one it'll be.
I will eat crow if they win with Mrazek in net. But
like hockey is weird. Like I'm not saying that
100% weird.
They're not. I'm not saying they're better than these teams, but I just think. Actually, no. You know what? I'll fix my answer. I'll say they get a point against Panthers. Mm-hmm. They lose to Dallas. They lose out on the weekend. I think they beat the Avs in Colorado. I think that the Avs are the kind of team that I think that they can get into a track meet with and win.
I'd buy that.
Because I think that the Jets and Knights are very structured, very defensive. They're not going to beat themselves. The goaltending is there for both teams. That's a tough nut to crack for a messy, unorganized Ducks team at times. But I think the Avs are a little bit more freewheeling, and I think that opens the door for them to go in there and win in Colorado. So I'll say that they win that game.
I'll buy it. So we both have them at 3 points in 10 games. Or 3 out of possible 10 points.
Yeah, so will they be in a playoff position after all of that?
Probably not.
It depends what happens around them, but I will say no. I will say no.
Yeah.
Also, they're playing a team in Vegas that's directly competing with them, so
yeah,
there's also that.
Hey, we said it at the top of this show. We're gonna be objective with our analysis.
I mean, it's also just, I think predicting one game is very difficult. Anything can happen. So it's like baseball. Like predicting with single baseball game is almost impossible. But predicting a series or a longer season is totally different. I think hockey is very similar in that way.
Yeah. Rumham said, if the Ducks are in a playoff spot by the deadline, would you feel comfortable adding to the roster to maintain playoff hopes? Obviously, this depends who is available, but would you feel comfortable moving this year's first-round pick, or would next year be better?
I wouldn't mind trading a first-round pick, but it would have to be for someone that's going to be part of the core. I wouldn't trade it for a rental.
Yeah.
Just don't think it's worth it.
Yep. Let's see. Malarkey said, with Dostal looking like a number one goalie, it feels like the Ducks have had an insane goalie success run. Are the Ducks one of the best teams in identifying and drafting and developing goalies in the NHL?
I mean, the Ducks have not had a bad starting goalie ever.
I mean, I'm trying to think back.
It's been a long ass time since they've had.
I mean, John Gibson had some rough seasons, but I don't think we would consider him a bad goalie.
And the thing with Gibson, too, is how much of that was, the environment versus him. We'll never really know, but I think he had already shown a lot before that happened, to where you could kind of say that it wasn't necessarily all him.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
you got Gibson, Anderson.
I mean, I'm looking at games played right now. Gibson has the most games played for a goalie, then Zegras, then Hebert, then Hiller, then Dostal, then Anderson. Mikhail Stalenkov played 122 games. Ryan Miller at 87.
Like, they've never had bad goaltending.
No. I think, what was the year where Ray Emery, I mean, he wasn't bad as a Duck, but that was the only year where, no, he was the starter in the playoffs.
Oh, but was that like an injury thing?
I'm trying to remember. It was Ray Emery and Dan Ellis. Oh, yeah, because that was when Jonas Hiller had vertigo.
Yeah, so that doesn't count.
Okay.
Also, Ray Emery was good. He was inconsistent, but he was good.
Sure, he had 926 as a Duck, so in 10 games.
There you go.
Like that. No, but that's the only time that I can really feel or remember there being like a question in net.
I like Dan Ellis.
But like neither of those guys are like of the caliber of like what we're talking about.
They're not elite goaltenders.
That's my point, is that those are the only two that like that era is it. But it is crazy because this goes like past just like one general manager or one ownership. Like this is over basically the entirety of the franchise.
I mean, some of it is just luck, but they have done a really good job.
Yeah. All right. So Brad said, riffing off 32 thoughts, are you interested in picking up Panarin, and what are you willing to give up? We kind of answered that already.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to the next one. When Gudas, Granlund, and Strome return, what are your ideal lines and D pairings? Would you move Seneca off that line and put Granlund there?
I mean, as to Gudas, my ideal pairing is that he just doesn't play.
Sure. Leave the D pairs as is.
Granlund, I mean, that's where Seneca has to play. So you just put Granlund on the third line. I mean, what do you do with Strome? Strome is the interesting one to me. I mean, I guess you could just do a third line of Strome, Granlund, and Killorn.
Yeah.
And then just do whatever on the fourth line.
Do Vetrano, Paling,
Colangelo, or Nestorenko,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that. And then he said, as of today, do you see the Ducks as buyers or sellers at the deadline? It's way too early.
Too early.
Way too early. And do you see the Ducks trading a D-man for more forward depth? And if so, who do you trade?
I mean, look, they've got Stian Solberg and Tristan Luneau in the AHL. Ian Moore looks like a legit NHLer. You've got Zellweger and Minchikov who are still promising. You've got Lacombe. You've got Hellison. Can you get to a spot where they can all play? I mean, it's granted.
We're almost there.
I mean, we're almost there. But, Solberg is still maybe a year or two away. But Luneau could be in the NHL right now. So at some point, you might just want to trade someone, even if hypothetically they could all be in your team. It's like there is a need up front, and you want to trade these guys before their value goes away too.
That to me is one of the bigger critiques of Pat Verbeek, is not leveraging all of the assets he's had to get things back and not using them when they are at a high value. The only time he's really done that is Drysdale for Gauthier, but that is kind of a unique circumstance.
Very unique, yeah.
So, let's see. Patrick said, non-star NHL player you've enjoyed watching the most this season. No Ducks or Habs.
So I haven't watched a ton of other games. Oh God, I've got a nasty one.
Okay.
I've got a nasty one.
Okay.
Trevor Zegras.
God.
Trevor Zegras. He isn't really a star, but another guy that's going to piss people off. I've just really enjoyed watching him when I have is Quinton Byfield for the Kings.
Okay.
Like, he's just a truck. And you look at the NHL Edge tracking data, and he is one of the fastest players in the league. And it looks like it when you watch him.
I will go with... I think Utah's been a team I've really been watching when I can. It's hard to watch games with a newborn outside of the Ducks, so my time is very limited. But I'll just go with... Let's go with Dylan Gunther from there. Watched one Canucks game, and Kiefer Sherwood was a lot of fun to watch, so
we were watching that night. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sherwood looked really good.
Yeah, he did.
There's some guys, like, I've kind of enjoyed watching the Red Wings because the Ducks watched them play the Kings the night before. I do enjoy Sandin Pellikka. He's pretty fun to watch. Yeah, anyway. Could do this forever.
Ken and Deal said, if the Ducks continue at a relatively close to the same pace for the rest of the season and seem like strong contenders to make the playoffs, is there any reason to trade for another piece, considering likely they need to trade an asset or prospect? The likely suspects to be traded this year do not seem particularly overwhelming. I mean, we kind of talked about that it really just depends on where they're at and what they're getting.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I would just say that even still, I would be hesitant to do like a pure rental move unless it's like, a bottom six forward for like a third round pick or something. Like I would, if I'm making a trade, I'm still prioritizing getting a core piece back and not just a rental.
Yeah. Let's see. Ken and Deal also said, are there players on this team that you'd like to see traded away because they're taking up roster spots for prospects or possibly trading them at a higher value than they've been for a few years, aka Johnston, Gudis, etc.?
I mean, I think that's going to solve itself because Gudis and Trouba, I think one of them at least are gone next season, and that kind of solves the situation. Yep.
Dr. Plantrun said, trying to be as sober and objective as possible, would Zegras on this team really be a difference maker? His high point total is somewhat misleading, IMO. Would he still have a role on this Ducks roster?
I mean, he'd be on the first power play unit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would help. He would help the team.
Yeah. Difference maker, not sure. He would definitely help the team, though.
Yeah. I mean, what do we define as a difference maker?
Nah, I think difference maker is elite talent. Is how I.
Well, then they don't have any difference makers.
Fair.
But yeah, I think he would make. I think he would make a difference. I think it would be a positive difference.
Yeah.
Is he like a true superstar? No, he's not. But I don't know. I'm tired of this. Yeah. Not in a bad way, but just like I've said all I could say.
Shaken Wing said, which Ducks player had the best fashion? I mean, it's Leo Carlsson. He's the only one that feels like he's immune to the...
I thought it was Dostal.
Dostal does also.
Dostal always has those nice suits.
Yeah.
Back
Carlson, I think it's just the only guy. He still does suits. And there's this like unofficial dress code with the Ducks that they're enforcing on... The players are enforcing on each other. And it feels like Carlson's the only one that's immune to that and just doesn't care.
Okay.
Isaac said, if the defense shores up to top 12 to 16 in the league to match their high offense by early mid-January, what's the ceiling for the team this year?
Playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would agree.
I mean, beyond that, I'm not sure, but playoffs.
I will say that the offense has to get back to where it was at because it has sputtered a bit. So that's the only thing there. All right, so YouTube and Twitch, start putting your questions in there. We got a couple on Twitter, or one of them on Twitter that I wanted to get to. Clark said, had a question for the pod, if you don't mind. Am I crazy to think Leo can end up being better than 98 in Chicago? He's got size, speed, skill, IQ, defensive capabilities, whereas I think Bedard is more of a winger, so might have less of an impact.
I really like Leo Carlsson. Everyone knows that, but Bedard is much, much more talented.
Yeah.
And more varied. Like, the thing with Carlsson is that, so far at least, we haven't really seen him do more than kind of, that speed game attacking, whereas Bedard can just hurt you in so many different ways that I just wouldn't go that far. And I really like both players, but I think that's honestly putting Carlsson in a bit of a shitty spot. Like, he's just great for what he is. Like, I don't necessarily need to compare him. I mean, it's kind of like the Fantilli versus Carlsson thing, honestly, to a degree.
I mean, there is this notion coming up more and more. So that I wanted to bring it up from Clark because it's
become popular to shit on Bedard.
Yes.
Like, first it was Celebrini versus Bedard, which is at least a discussion. But I think that you're starting to stretch it with Carlsson and Bedard.
I think people are being overly
forgetting
harsh on Bedard. Bedard's really good.
Well, the thing is, Bedard was... I mean, here's why. Bedard, everyone said he was generational, which he wasn't. That term was used way too loosely, and he hasn't lived up to it. He hasn't lived up to that, specifically. And now everyone's down on him, whereas Leo had no expectations because no one really knew that much about him. He was coming over from Sweden, and yeah, there was some shock and awe that that they didn't take Fantilli, but he didn't come in with any of those expectations. And so his stock has only gone up, whereas Bedard's has only gone down in the perception. Whereas in reality, one is still the better prospect than the other. And again, we're talking like both very, very high-end to elite prospects. Like, this isn't to put down Leo at all. It's just like, watch Connor Bedard play and, tell me if you still think Carlsson's better. Maybe you'll still disagree.
Yeah. All right. We're going to get to Twitch and YouTube. We'll probably do a couple questions because we're already over an hour and a half. But for those of you listening on your favorite podcast services, go to twitch.tv/crashpond, where if you have Amazon Prime, you get one free Twitch Prime gaming sub each and every month. It helps out more than you can imagine. You can be just like Brandon Pineda, who resubbed with his Prime membership for his 25th month. Or you can find us at youtube.com/crashpond, where you can like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment there, everything along those lines. And it does help out more than you would know. So Crowbar said, would you give up a first-round pick to acquire Isaac Lundestrom at the deadline?
I love that question. A great ode to Crash the Pond lore.
Yep.
But I'm saying no. And not thinking twice.
Mike said, per Evolving Hockey, McTavish is currently second to last on the team in expected GAR, only behind Vetrano. That doesn't seem to match the eye test, though, as he's looked good so far. What are your thoughts? So...
I think it's because he's getting dragged down by Seneca, but that's going to piss people off.
His defensive metrics have cratered since I looked at this originally. Because I remember looking at this and sending it to you when the charts first came out, I think for the Rap'em charts last week. And he looks good. Like, everything looked good. The defensive metrics for McTavish have, cratered to exactly kind of what Beckett Seneca's is at. And so, yeah, it kind of feels like a bit
And which one is the driver of that?
Well,
that's where I go eye test, and I can tell you which one it is.
And one thing to remember with these numbers is they attempt to isolate individuals, but there's only so much that it can do. These guys are doing insane work with it, with the models that they're putting together, but they can't do a perfect job of it. And so I'm now looking at it, and yeah, it's expected offense is also negative, as is his expected defense, which is a bit surprising.
11 games.
Yeah, that's the other part of this. It's 11 games. I think he's looked good.
Yeah.
Crowbar said, question for Felix. Have you caught any games of McQueen? And if so, what are your thoughts?
Well, I will use this as a moment to plug the Patreon. And if you want to watch Roger McQueen play, I did a full shift-by-shift video, kind of a watch-along, where I'm giving my thoughts as I'm watching the game. You can watch it with me. So go check that out on our Patreon. But I have watched 2, maybe 3 of his games this season. I'm losing my mind, honestly. But he hasn't looked great. He's looked rusty. It has gotten a little bit better. I haven't seen him since the early season, so I need to check back in at some point. He looks like a guy who hasn't played hockey in a long time. The college game isn't necessarily bringing out the offensive side of his game, which worries me a bit, but I can't really judge too much. I'm going to check back in probably in a month or so and see what he looks like then.
Yep. Calvin Mayer said, I think Robertson is struggling in Dallas right now. Could he be a possible option? I feel like that's highly unlikely, though.
We're doing this again. Good question. Yeah, sure. Why not? Still a great forward. So sign me up. Let's do this again.
Yeah, that's a player I'd move my first for.
Why not? Yeah, exactly. That is the kind of guy you would do it for.
Lewis X209 said, who is your favorite player growing up? Can be from any sport.
Oh, I'll let you go first.
I have 3.
Okay. Let's hear it.
From different sports. Baseball would be Adam Kennedy. He was my favorite on the Angels.
I don't know.
Had three home runs in the ALCS to send the Angels to the World Series. Was a second baseman for that team. I played second base in Little League Baseball, War number 2, because of Adam Kennedy. And so there's that.
That's
Hockey,
why you wear it for beer league too.
I do. That's why that's always been my number.
Okay.
Hockey's Paul Correa. That one's easy. And then I'll say the other thing I would say as a favorite player would probably be Matt Leinart for college football. That was one that
don't know who that is either. Isn't he a commentator?
Yes, you don't know who Matt Leinart is.
I don't keep track of this shit.
That era of USC football, in my earlier age 11 through 14 or whatever. That was such a fun time and went to a lot of those games. So that for me those are my favorite players and some of my favorite moments growing up. I was spoiled as a kid with sports, having Angels win the World Series, USC be as good as they were, and then the Ducks winning the Stanley Cup. Very spoiled.
And all of those things have faded
fallen
away.
To shit. Yeah. Like I said, I was set up to crash and burn hard.
You were set up to crash the pond.
There we go.
Mine are very obvious, but this is going to be so obvious, but the number one favorite athlete as a young player, as a young prospect, as I was, Carey Price. I wore number 31 as a goalie. I was a goalie growing up until college, and he was my idol. He was the best. I watched his first game in the NHL. I watched his last game in the NHL. It's still very weird to me that he's not even a Canadian anymore, let alone that he's retired. So that was him. But the goalie who got me into hockey, the goalie who got me to want to put the pads on, Cristobal Huet.
Wow.
That was my original favorite player, favorite goalie. That was the season 05-06. I'll never forget. Jose Theodore starts the season for the Ducks, or starts the season for the Habs, struggles. And Cristobal Huet, this unknown player they had traded, they had gotten from the Kings, comes in, goes on a crazy hot streak. He's got those beautiful Reebok pads that I was just in love with, and he was awesome that season and made me fall in love with the sport. Honestly, that was my favorite. And then favorite skater was, this is another obvious one, but Alex Kovalev. For the OGs out there, this was the original skilled sick mitts player. Just go on YouTube and just type in Alexei Kovalev stick handling, and you're welcome. You'll enjoy it. But those are my 3.
Okay. All right.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, so I want to introduce a new bit.
Oh no.
People hate bits. People hate.
I love bits.
People despise that we're
an hour 40 in and you're adding a bit to this.
So this is actually a tie-in. This is an homage. This is on point. This is relevant. So you and I have been doing a lot of articles for crashthepond.com this season, which you should check out. After every game, you've got the eye test article, which is me, and you've got the numbers article, which is Jake. But Jake's are more entertaining because you've also got the Brian Hayward Fitz article, or portion of the article where you give a rating for the outfit, and it's a
song of the game also.
And it's making waves. That bit is making waves. The hazy fits portion, it's making waves. So check that out. But one of the cool things about this is that through the website we can see where people are reading from, where people are clicking from. And so I figured I'll start doing this where I will just shout out a few cities that people are clicking from at the end of the show, because these are people that are reading us, that are spending their time reading our content. So some fun cities that we've got here. El Cajon, California. We've got 12 clicks from there in the last 30 days. I don't know where El Cajon is, but shout out to you if you're the person that's reading from there. We've got 8 clicks from McKinleyville. Again, don't know where that is.
In San Diego County.
I thought that's where it was. McKinleyville. That sounds like Northern California.
I feel like I've heard of McKinleyville. Let's see.
Northern.
Let's see. McKinleyville is in Humboldt County.
Yeah, so very northern. And then another one that I've never heard of, which is pretty rare, but that one that I've never heard of. How about this one? Santee.
Oh, I've heard of that. I have a good buddy of mine lives there.
8 clicks from Santee. Where the heck is Santee?
Cool username. Okay, yes, saying these guys could be using NordVPN.
These could be VPN users.
Yeah,
that's true.
They could be VPN users. Santee's like Eastern San Diego.
My favorite one though is Pixley, California. 11 clicks. I think Pixley is like Central California.
Pixley is in Tulare County.
Tulare, but yeah.
Tulare. Oh.
Okay. So
it is very small.
So shout out to all of you clicking from there. If you're listening to this too, hopefully you are. Shout out. All right, now this is the second half. So we start with our Californians because we are a California pod. But there are clickers and readers from all over the world, but we'll stay in the U.S. for now. Jake, give me a random state, and I'll name you a couple cities. Just
Massachusetts.
You want to do Massachusetts? Okay.
I don't know.
So shout out to whoever is clicking. This is the most clicked city in Massachusetts for us. Concord, Massachusetts, 20 clicks. So we've got a regular over in Concord. After that, we've got 9 in Boston, 7 in Dorchester, 7 in Arlington, and 5 in Salem. There you go, Salem. So shout out to Massachusetts. Shout out to Pixleyville. Shout out to El Cajon. Shout out to all of you for listening, for reading. It's been a blast. Jake, unless you got anything else, I think we can wrap this up here.
We can definitely wrap it up.
If you want to support the show, keep this thing going, number one way to do that is go check out our Patreon page where you get even more content. So patreon.com/crashthepond. For $2 a month, you get access to our patrons-only Discord server where you can connect with us. It's like a giant group chat for diehard Ducks fans. Connect with us at all times a day. Plenty of stuff to talk about in there, not just hockey, but always very lively during Ducks games. You can up that pledge to $7.50 a month, where you get access to 2 bonus podcast episodes a month, where you get to choose what the topics are. You also get access to exclusive shift-by-shift breakdowns, video breakdowns. I just did one on Beckett Senica. If nothing else, though, you are just supporting the podcast. We really appreciate it, and you are getting more content. That's at patreon.com/crashthepond. Leave us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. Do the same on Spotify. Subscribe to us on YouTube if you want the video format of the show. Follow us on social media. We're on Twitter. We're everywhere. And also check out the website, crashthepond.com. Free content, fun stuff, every game or just about. So that'll do it for today's show. Thank you for listening, everyone. And we will talk to you next week.
Bye.